Good morning. Good morning. Hey, good morning. How are you doing this morning? Joel here with Be Growth Driven. And we've lined up an episode for you today because it's a critical component to where your 2021 is going to go. When you think about how your business has grown, or maybe peaks and valleys where you've had struggles, oftentimes when you're having that trouble connecting, right? It's maybe because you're trying to get your information out, right? You know everything there is to do about your product, your service, everything else. But unfortunately, if you're like me, I bumble it sometimes, and I just simply try to share everything, right? I think that's my pitch, and it's really not. And what it comes down to is getting that pitch right. And so what we've put together, we've lined up the man himself, Jeff Sarault, to help us this morning dissect the pitch, bring the pitch, and really build our pitch. It's going to be a critical component to 2021. So without any further ado, Jeff, thank you for joining us here this morning. I appreciate you jumping on.
Joel, it's great to be back. Always good to be with you, my buddy. I appreciate the time.
Oh man, I love it. I'm excited about this because I think this is an important part. There's so many different steps of the sale, of the process of creating a transaction, right?
There sure is.
But this is like the thing that gets you in the door right here, wouldn't you say?
I would. And, that's something that you just said is kind of the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about the pitch, because, in the way of pitching yourself or, making yourself known to your marketplace, the very first part of that is getting in the door, right? And so that's the part that we all kind of have to get right first, or else everything else that we do behind it never really happens and isn't important if you can't get in the door in the first place. So you're getting in the door is the first part of getting your pitch right.
Awesome. So where do people go astray on this?
In the way of getting in the door, or in their pitch in general?
Oh, so a lot of people, they focus on, hey, I'm a stone cold closer, right? And
yeah,
the closing doesn't mean nothing if they don't get the pitch right.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just to go back to what we were talking about a minute ago, right? Like getting in the door is the most important thing. The first thing that you have to do, though, is get attention, right? Okay, if people don't know who you are, or if people haven't, and getting attention might be picking up the phone and calling somebody, right? But
right.
Whether you're trying to get attention through things that you're posting on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, you have to make that first interaction with the person that you're trying to get in touch with. And so many times, I think a lot of people, by the way, I've been as guilty of what I'm about to say as anybody, but a lot of people try to puke all over their prospect with too much information in the beginning, right? The first interaction that you're trying to have is just to make contact, make a greeting. And one of the things Grant Cardone teaches is the first step in the sales process is the greeting. You have to greet somebody. You have to say hello. You have to make that first connection. It can be simple as hello, or it can be simple as, what brings you in today? Whatever your first engagement is with that customer or that prospect, it can be simple, but you have to start there. And
Right.
There's pieces and parts to the process that are really non-negotiables.
Okay. Well, tell us, I guess you weren't always solid on the pitch.
Not at all. Still, and in some cases, I'm still not.
Right. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, let's take a minute actually and step backwards for just a second, and let's talk about where did you start? What's the journey of everything? Good morning, Kathleen. By the way, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I mean, the journey for me, to get to where I'm sitting here having this conversation with you is, I got started in broadcasting. I got started, being on the air at a radio station, and I figured out that the people who were driving the nicest cars in the parking lot of the radio station were salespeople. They were the ones that were making the most money. So I wanted to figure out how to do that. And so I tried, to learn all the way, how can I convey a message? How can I transact with somebody? How can I, sell them advertising, sell them whatever I'm selling. And of course, along the way, I've sold a lot of other things. But one of the things I've had the hardest time with doing is figuring out, how do you go from someone that nobody knows to being able to have trust and a rapport with somebody where they might want to transact with you based on their particular need. And
Right.
so, I think a lot of people probably have had the same experience where they've bumped their head along the way. And that comes from not having the right information, not having the right training, not getting someone to coach you through what does that process look like. And at some point I just got tired of banging my head against the wall. And so I went to find the right information, because especially in the last couple of years, about 4 years ago, I started a new job, and the first couple of years, I was really struggling to make my goals. I was really struggling to get in with the clients I was looking to get in with. And the problem was I had the wrong information. I wasn't getting in the door the right way. I wasn't presenting my offer correctly. So I had to go get that information. And that information was, how do you set up a business process and a sales process, right, to get through the life cycle of the client, to go from cold to actually transacting business. And that's something that I feel like over the last couple of years, I've really been able to, I don't want to say perfect, but I've gone from a place where I was banging my head against the wall to I've gotten the right information to get people on the phone.
Awesome. And that's, you need to have that structure, or you're kind of lost in the call, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, and those are, hey, I got Jeff, I got Clubhouse going over here too. So Zach, if you want to catch us on,
awesome,
to actually join the conversation, search up Be Growth Driven on Facebook or YouTube, and definitely we'll get you on there, man. So if you have questions for Jeff, by all means, jump onto either YouTube or Facebook real quick, follow Be Growth Driven, and jump onto the show here real quick, or shoot me a quick text at 402-403-0010, and I'll get you set up, man. I'll get you the link real quick for YouTube. So continue on. So you knew that there had to be this information, this structure, these steps, this process. This is going to help you grow a business, because a lot of people are trying to either recover their business this year, they're trying to start a business, the business they were at went out of business, whatever the case may be there. And so where has this information taken you?
So, I mean, in my personal situation, as I described a few minutes ago, like in the current career that I have, the first 2 years were terrible. I didn't make any goals, got the right information, went to my personal coach and mentor is Grant Cardone, as you can probably see from the thing beside me.
Just a little bit.
And so, I got the right information, and what that helped me to do was it helped me to simplify the process in my mind. I was making things way too complicated. And from there, last year, in 2019, not only did I hit all my goals, but I received an MVP award from my company. This year I got a promotion. And it was all from taking things to being so complicated and so, the word I'm trying to look for is all over the place. Like everything I was trying to do didn't have a rhyme or reason. It didn't make sense. There was no order to the cycle that I was going through with when I would bring a prospect, a client into my funnel, my business. And so what I figured out was a couple of very simple things. One, it's easy to overcomplicate selling whatever it is that you're selling. Doesn't matter if it's cars, doesn't matter if it's vacuums, doesn't matter if it's information products or whatever. People just make it too difficult. The second thing is that there are some non-negotiables that you have to have in your pitch, and that is that those non-negotiables need to be the cycle through which you engage with your customer. And then the third thing is making sure that you repeat that process. And if you miss a step in the process, you got to go back and get it right and learn from times when you might make a mistake in the process, because nobody ever is finished with learning how to be a good salesperson and how to be a good be a pitch person.
Right.
So,
well, and I think you nailed something important right there, is because a lot of people are like, well, I've been a sales guy for 20 years.
yeah.
I got this
Absolutely.
down. And so they think that it's the old dog can't learn no new tricks, right? But the reality is you always got to be, keep sharpening that iron, right?
100%.
So getting that right information. And what I love here is, we're talking about the pitch. We're talking about just this like, maybe it's 30 to 60 seconds, right? At the max, probably 60-second thing that we're talking about. But there's all these other things that lead up to it. There's the goals, there's the getting the information. It's actually the decluttering of the whole process.
100%.
And
you're right.
So I find that very interesting, like where there's people, I think, like you said, they complicate the living daylights out of it. And it needs to actually just be simple, because would you say it's this, that it's, we need to figure out how to just simply relate it to like the end thing. I know what I've been guilty of in my pitch is too much technobabble in the pitch.
I mean, that's a huge problem. I mean, I'm in a similar situation, Joel, where, I sell a product that's typically very complicated, very tech heavy, requires what I sell is not something that every single person in the world needs, right? There's a very specialized customer for that.
Right.
The problem, though, that a lot of people face, and whether you sell what I sell or there's people that sell medical products that you don't, unless you're a surgeon or whatever, you might not be a prime customer for them. But the problem is that people get so mired down in the minutia of the product and how it works that they don't spend time focusing on pitching or presenting the benefits and the features that will solve a problem for the customer. Right. And I think that, if there was any piece of advice that I could give to anybody, it's figure out the goal of what you're trying to achieve and figure out the simplest way possible to convey the message. Look, there's always things that, people are always going to want to know the nuts and bolts of how something works. But the pitch, what we're really selling, whatever it is a solution. It's a make me remove, as a prospect, it's remove me from this pain that I'm feeling. If it's and by the way, it can be anything. If you're trying to sell a luxury car, right? I have a pain where I want to drive a fancy car. Sell me how do I solve that pain? Or if it's, Grant Cardone uses this awesome analogy, and I believe it's in Sell or Be Sold, where it's like, okay, here's this cup of water, right? Okay, this is a full cup of water.
Right.
If I'm trying to get this water because I want to finish off a dining room table, that water has the value of just being a thing on the table. But if I'm choking, or I've just consumed a hot pepper and it's ripping my tongue out, like, the value of this water is different. There's a different problem there. So what we have to figure out is in your pitch, what is the solution to the problem? And that is the pitch. You're pitching the solution to somebody's problem.
Love it. So if somebody's lost, they're like, man, my pitch, after hearing some of this, my pitch is weak. If we were to dissect this, just break it down, how would you break it down?
I think if it's me, the system that I'm following is that you want to keep your initial interaction between 30 and 60 seconds, however that first interaction is, and you want to greet the customer or the prospect. You want to tell them who you are and how you can help. You want to qualify them. You want to make sure that if that person that you're reaching out to or is coming to you is actually someone you can help. That's what qualification means in the sales process, is making sure you can help that person. And then if you determine that you can or you should, then you engage with the opportunity to demonstrate how you can do that. And sometimes that's right then and there on that initial sales call. Sometimes it's setting up the appointment, but it's really that simple. Greet the customer, qualify them, see if you can help them, and then figure out when is the right time to demonstrate the solution. And I think really that's it, right? Like, and if you get that far, and if you figure out that you can help somebody and you have earned that right through your pitch, then you make a proposal, you close the offer, you follow up, and you do it all over again. I mean, that's the cycle. But without those first parts, greeting the customer, qualifying them, and figuring out whether or not you've earned the right to demonstrate that product, you can't get to make the proposal, close the offer, and follow up if you don't do the first part of that cycle.
Yeah. It's like the first. It's like the door.
It's the and by the way, people might even have a bigger hurdle to climb in the first part, which is getting past a gatekeeper, which is getting the contact information for whoever you're trying to get in touch with. You said something earlier about set your goal, set your plan, right? Okay,
right.
That's the most important thing you can do. But you have to have a plan. You have to have a structure. But the simplification of understanding what does the greeting look like for you and your business? What are the questions you need to ask in that cold call or in that first interaction to help you qualify whether or not you can help that customer? And it's only then, if you have those two parts right, can you get through the rest of the interaction with the prospect.
Awesome.
You can't go and close somebody if you haven't made a proposal, and you can't make a proposal if you haven't demonstrated how you can help them, and you can't demonstrate how you can help them if you haven't first qualified whether or not that's a possibility in the first place.
So would you say that the pitch kind of like encompasses a lot of these things, like a lot of these things all in one? Like you're gonna include how you can help them. You're going to add in you're basically going to qualify them at the same time, almost in essence within that small pitch. Can you give us
sure,
an
I think
example, maybe?
If it's in a cold call, if I call you up and I'm calling Joel and I say, hey Joel, this is Jeff Sarault. I understand that this is probably an interruption right now, but the reason why I'm calling is because, and whatever the solution is that you offer there, the reason why I'm calling is because I help agencies and advertisers around the world make sense of connected TV advertising. That's what I do for a living, by the way. Okay, or I'm a Grant Cardone licensee, so if I'm calling somebody up and I'm going to say, hey Joel, this is Jeff Sarault. I'm part of the Grant Cardone team. I help businesses just like you take their business and strategize and advertise and monetize their way to 10x success. I don't know if this is a problem that you're facing, but a lot of the clients that I work with have salespeople who are bogged down by COVID-19 and the economy, and they're in the wrong mindset or other, and so like you just kind of move into that.
Right.
But you have to build rapport. You have to explain why you're calling, and then and only then can you figure out by the response that you get from that prospect whether or not they're interested, they're qualified, they're someone that you can help.
Awesome. Well, and I like what you're including in as part of that pitch. Would you always include this? You're kind of heading off some objections, right?
100%.
Hey, you may not have time for this. You may even, in fact, feel that you're not interested right away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of like you're addressing those things right off the bat.
You have to. You almost have to have what's called a pattern interrupt, right? Okay. If a business owner is sitting there and they're getting cold called on, 10, 15, 20 times a day, you're just another person in that chain, right? And most people who are calling, the amateurs that are out there calling, they're calling and they're spewing all over their prospects with what their offer is. But if you can first almost like get on the same playing field with the prospect and be like, look, I understand this is an interruption in your day, and I completely understand that. And so in 25 seconds or less, the reason why I'm calling is, okay, and so you apologize for interrupting, you take full responsibility, and then you let them know, I only need about 25 seconds to see if I can help you. And if you can, you can. If you can't, you move on. And that's, having a pipeline full of prospects that you can have that engagement with. If somebody hangs up on you or tells you no, or isn't someone that you can help, you move on. You find somebody else that you can help, because having that pipeline is going to allow you to go through that process over and over and over again until you can find somebody you can help.
Right. Awesome. Fantastic. Now, once they kind of build the pitch, I mean, do you need just one pitch? Should you build a couple pitches?
I think you should build a variety of pitches, of cold calls, warm calls, for a variety of situations. Okay. Some people who are watching this today, they might be sitting in a cubicle farm of making 150 to 300 phone calls a day, just calling people on a list. Other people might be calling folks that are inbound leads, right? They might have responded to an offer. They might have filled out a request for information. So you want to handle a call with someone that is coming into your pipeline from an inbound situation a little bit differently, because that's really a warm situation, right? So in that case, it might be, hey, thanks for reaching out to us. What are you looking for more information on? Okay, because if you start with that question, someone who's an inbound prospect probably already knows who you are and what you do. What you want to get to is, how can I help you? If you've reached out to me for something, that's different than making a cold call to somebody who has no idea who you are, why you're calling, what your business does, and so you want to have a pitch for both of those situations.
Awesome. Okay. So what about the gatekeeper though?
The gatekeeper that's a real interesting one. The gatekeeper is probably the first person, if there is a gatekeeper. Although I think a lot of people would tell you less and less, especially in the situation that we're in, and especially with the information that's out there. It's a lot easier to get to the person that you're trying to interact with now than maybe ever before. But the gatekeeper is someone that you kind of have to figure out what their interests are first. Okay. The gatekeeper is probably also going to know, or should also know, and they may or may not, what are the problems that the person that they are in between you and the prospect you're searching for is trying to solve. So, what you want to figure out through your own research is what is the best way that you can help a person in the industry that you're reaching out to in a larger sense, and then find out, even if it's through the gatekeeper and they say, oh, this person is never going to speak with you. First of all, don't ever make that your last call. Keep calling and calling, or find, through LinkedIn or other ways in order to get access to that person. But find out, make a relationship, find out what that person needs. How can they help the person that they work for or that they are filtering calls for?
Right. So, I briefly brought this up because I wanted to just share this with the audience too. What you're offering actually a way too, so we can see that we got my information. I'm going to delete my stuff there. Here, you can, those people can rewind and get my number now. That's okay. By all means, call me. Let's talk. But so what are in order to really kind of help people, because what our goal here always at Be Growth Driven on the Be Growth Driven podcast is, we want to provide some value. We want to help them, and hopefully this has been helpful. If this has been helpful for you guys, by the way, share this out, like us, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Please share this information out. If you know that this is going to be helpful for somebody, share it out to them on LinkedIn. Just get it out there. And find 10 people. Do me a favor, find 10 people today that this could be helpful for, and share it out to them. So, and Crazy Jer, we got a couple people over here on Clubhouse. By all means, man, jump over to Facebook, jump over to YouTube, search Be Growth Driven, and jump on the conversation here real quick. But Jeff, tell us a little bit about how you want to try to help people, because you and I were talking. You're like, man, I really want to help people out. This is a problem where people need some help out, and it's been phenomenally game changing for you, and you're in a unique position because you have these tools and resources available to really help folks, right?
Yeah.
And so you wanted to put together something special just to give to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, so as Joel, as you said, this is I've learned from Grant Cardone, among others, but Grant's personally and directly helped me to hone my pitch. And so in 2019, I became a Grant Cardone licensee, which basically just means that I am licensed and authorized by Grant to help others with the information that he has in all of his platforms. And so one of the things I wanted to do in 2021, specifically around the economic situation that we are in, is people need to rethink their pitch, because they may not be able to be face-to-face, or they may be reaching out to customers in a new way. So I developed this little program called Pitch Please. And basically what it is if you go to the website that Joel has on the screen, it's jeffsarault.com/pitch please. You can enter your information. And then on the next page, you can upload from your cell phone, take your phone, record yourself giving your 60-second cold call, email script, elevator pitch, whatever you are currently doing to try to attract new customers. If you upload that and send it to me, I will personally watch the video. And then through the techniques we've talked about today, and some that we haven't gotten to yet, I will personally reply back to you with some tips, some 10x strategies on how to improve your pitch, or just do one or two little tiny things that you either may have not have thought of, or didn't occur to you for one reason or another, or you may not even been taught in your sales process, that will hopefully get you better response, get you in more doors, and get more appointments for you.
Right.
And there's no cost to this. It's just, this is something that I want to do to help my network and to just make salespeople better and more effective in the industry.
Right. And that's what I was going to ask. I was like, there's no cost. You're not going to charge people for this.
No,
I got this deal. It's $197 and I'm going to.
No. I don't need your credit card. That's not what this is about. What this is about is, I was at a place in my career not too long ago where I didn't have the right information on how to be a good salesperson. And I believe that you have to, if you have information that will help other people, you have to get it out there.
Right.
And that's all I'm trying to do is,
awesome.
Someone said to me along my sales journey, you need to listen to this information. You need to get this book, get this audio about how to get your pitch right. And I'm proof that information was helpful. And I want to convey that to other people who might be struggling, whether you're brand new in sales, or like Joel, you gave an example a few minutes ago. There's a lot of people out there who have the attitude of, oh, I've been selling this product for 20 or 30 years. Right. But the problem is now they're in a new economy, right? They're in a new landscape.
Total different game change.
We are not on the same economic planet anymore that we were 9, 10, 18 months ago. It's the way you sell over Zoom, the way you sell over the phone, the way you sell over LinkedIn is a totally different environment than, listen, people are selling cars now. My neighbor just bought a car the other day and never saw the vehicle in person, and it was delivered to their front door. Okay. Like, that's not a usual way people buy cars, but that is a completely different sales process than if somebody walks into your dealership, takes a test drive, hears about the financing options and all that other stuff. You have to rethink the way that engagement with that customer happens. And that's what I want to help people do.
That is phenomenal, man. So, and you're nailing a few things that are really critical. It's kind of like you need to build your toolbox all over again for 2021, right?
You do. And you have to, you have to have the right, an analogy I heard the other day is information is the ammunition, right? Okay. Information is that's what it's going to take to knock down your success. Right. Okay. And most people have the right fundamentals of selling or pitching. What they sometimes lack is the finesse and execution. And that's okay, because that comes with experience. But there's no, it's like, okay, if you learned anything in life, right? Someone taught you probably, right? You probably saw someone do something and it piqued your interest, right? You had to go and learn. You had to go watch something on YouTube. You had to go read a book or whatever. Well, that's true in your sales process as well. And it is, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to get it right, because you want to do right by your clients, you want to do right by your business.
So there's something that you mentioned. There's like, we've all learned things from different angles, right? And so one of the thoughts that I was thinking of too is like sometimes we've learned things from the wrong people.
Yep.
Right. I don't know. This is going to date me, but I remember when I was little, there was this public service announcement, and this kid doing drugs, and the dad asked him where he learned it. He's like, I learned it by watching you. So it's how the source of our information, right, can be good and it can be bad at the same time too.
Yeah, and one of the things I have two frames of thought on this, right? Like there's a lot of people that will go out there and they will listen to everybody.
Right.
They'll get all the information that they can, and then they don't do anything with it because they get analysis paralysis, right?
Yep.
Or then you have the other people who, the other side of that same coin is people who think they're right and they don't go get any different information. And so what I've always believed, and I can only speak to what works for me, is to listen to what's around you in your atmosphere about coaching and training. Find that person or that idea that resonates with you, that makes you want to listen to the next thing, and then stick with that and start studying the things that kind of are like, oh, that's clicking for me. That's clicking for me.
Well, I think it goes deeper than that though, Jeff. It's not just what you like. Okay. Because, hey, listen, I mean, you may like Butterfingers.
Right.
But it ain't healthy for you to eat Butterfingers all day long.
True.
Right. So
what a world we would live in if it were,
Right. I know, right?
Okay.
So, I think what you really need to ask yourself, and I would imagine you'll agree with this, is you need to look and say, hey, am I getting the results I know I should, and the results I know I need to take care of not only those that are close to me, that those that depend upon me. So like if you're a business owner, man, you're a business owner, you need to be getting your pitch right. If you're a sales guy, you need to be getting your pitch right. Right? No matter what level, if you're not even in sales, you're not even a business owner, you still need to get your pitch right.
That's a great point. One of the things that I think that a lot of people miss the boat on, just to kind of take what you just said into a little bit of a direction here, is, every person in your organization is a salesperson, right? Okay. If you have a physical location and people come through your door, you don't want the first person that's the receptionist at the front desk or whatever to say different things about your product or service than someone who is, the actual salesperson who might do the transaction. Every person in that chain of experience with a prospective client is a salesperson. So whatever information you access to get yourself on the right track, you've got to get everybody in your organization on that information so that the messaging is consistent across the board. And a lot of times that's where the breakdown happens in a company, is you've got different people on different messaging, and the customers don't understand what it is you do or what you stand for.
Right. So I think this is really kind of developing into a bigger topic than just simply the pitch, because I think that this dips into, hey, what's your vision statement? What's your mission statement? What are your brand pillars? Right. Yeah. And what are your core values of your organization? It could be a number of those things. So, and again, those that are on Clubhouse that are jumping on here, by all means, we want you to join the discussion on YouTube or on Facebook on Be Growth Driven. Search for Be Growth Driven. You'll find us there. Would love to have you join the conversation. By all means, share us out, get us out there, because I think this is a critical component. If you depend upon, if you're at work for an organization, get them on this content right here real quick, and get them on Jeff's offer right here. He's going to dissect your pitch. I would imagine he doesn't have 24 hours a day to do this. So the quicker you get yours in, the quicker it's going to get analyzed, the quicker you can get that to put to work, right, and making money. But wouldn't you also say, hey, that it's a critical component to really kind of maybe even analyze right now for businesses, say, hey, my pitch has to connect, has to bridge over to what my company's vision and mission statements are.
Yeah, and it has to. Yes, the answer to your question is absolutely. Everyone needs to know what those pillars are, what that mission statement is. What are you, what are you charging into battle to do every day, right? Like what, and that kind of goes back to what we started talking about at the beginning of the call, Joel, is what problem do you solve? Okay,
Right.
like that's, and so if your pillars, if the message that you're putting out there is geared around what problem that you solve, you really can't lose, because then you're going to end up engaging with people who have your problem.
Right.
And you're going to get more have the problem you can solve, I should say. And then you're going to get more success, and more success leaves clues, and you're going to figure out over time how you can help more people by just you have to there's this term out there, you have to have a niche, you have to niche down, all that. That's true. But what's more important is, what is the message that you're putting out to that niche on how you can solve their problem, and what's the narrative around your brand and your company that is going to get people interested in your offer.
Right. And Michael, you asked as far as how you can stay connected to this. By all means, if you want to stay connected to Be Growth Driven, just text us quick live at 402-347-9770, 402-347-9770, or go to begrowthdriven.com and just register and stay connected. You'll get prompted to, if you're on your desktop, to let us send you notifications, which we do, and we'll stay connected there. But if you want to actually get a hold of Jeff, you want to stay connected with Jeff, take advantage of him on his offer before I would imagine he adds a Visa, MasterCard, American Express to this thing. Okay, because the time alone, you gotta understand that the time alone it takes to sit there and really break down somebody's pitch for them, that's a tremendous donation by Jeff here, to help everybody. And it's a genuine, I know Jeff, I've known Jeff for a number of years here. This guy has his stuff down. We wouldn't have him on here if he didn't have his stuff down. He's one of the top performers of the Grant Cardone licensees, and we wouldn't have him on here really again if he didn't have his stuff down and he couldn't help you out. By all means, get on this offer right here and stay connected. Stay connected with Jeff. He's definitely going to be coming back on. We'll get you back on again here in the future as well, because man, I appreciate the value you're offering here.
Well, listen, the thing about the thing about value, Joel, as I've learned, is, I can think it's valuable. You can think what we do is valuable. But the value is in the eye of the person that you're helping, right? Okay.
Right.
And so, and the way that you observe value is if what you're giving to somebody else, whether it's information or products or services or time, can make somebody else's life experience
100%.
Situation better. And for me, it's like, someone did this for me. Okay. Someone literally pulled me aside and said, you're almost there. You just need a little bit of extra to be great at what you're doing.
Right.
And hopefully if people, if people are interested in having me coach them through their pitch, that's what I can do for them. Is I can say, I can help them understand there might be just one or two little tweaks that they might be able to make. And if that made a 10 or 15% difference in their results, what would that mean to their bottom line at the end of the year? I have no idea. I'm not asking. I'm just thinking, people really need to observe that now is the time, in the current situation, the year that we're in, the opportunity that's ahead of us in 2021. Don't wait. Get the right information and get your pitch right, so that you can see more success. You can build up your confidence. You can feel better about what you do. You can feel better about the people that you're helping. And that process will just continue to build on itself over time if you just get that initial pitch, that initial interaction with your prospects and customers on how you can help them correct in the first place.
Awesome. I love it. And this feeds exactly into what we talked about last week. You were on that show. I want to say it was Ken Joslin that mentioned, you got a mindset right? So you got to make that decision. If you haven't made this decision to get your pitch polished, even if you think if your pitch is polished, right, send it to Jeff, right? If anything, he's going to be like, man, there's nothing I can do for you. You're like fantastic. I'm going to spotlight you. But mindset, motion. So if you're stuck in this rut, if 2020 kicked you really hard, then you need to do this, right?
Can I give a free piece? It's all free anyway, but can I give something that everybody probably needs to hear first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The best piece of advice that I ever heard, learned, and put into action about my own pitch was to take stuff out of it. Okay. To leave them wanting more, right? Okay. And chances are, if somebody sends me their 60-second video on my site, the first thing, I can't predict in everybody's case, but chances are the first thing that we're going to learn is you're probably saying things that just don't matter, don't get you closer to that appointment, that call, that presentation, that demonstration.
Right.
And the reason why that is, Joel, is because we as salespeople, as people who are interested in what we do and dedicated to our craft and our product, we're just so excited. We just want to tell everybody about what we offer. But we have to first understand how people receive information. And now more than ever, people just want small bites, and they want to decide for themselves if that small bite that you give them is enough to make them ask further questions or give you an opportunity to help them. So,
and you only have, here's the reality. You only have usually a few seconds to really get that attention. So if your pitch ain't right, man, it's going to be a frustrating day as you either follow up on opportunities, and the scary thing is you got people following up on opportunities, and the person that they're calling is ready to close and transact with them.
But I would say most people that you call are not ready to close and transact with you, right? I would say probably like less than 2% of the world, if you call them up, is going to be like, oh man, I was waiting for your call, right?
If you're working with a warm lead, right? If you
that's a different story.
You get what I'm saying? If you know that you're calling an opportunity where there's it's just they need to hear this information. If you got the next best thing since sliced bread, I'm going to give you a real quick example, and this really feeds into why why you need to call Jeff, why you need to reach out, take advantage of him on his offer on this for the pitch, please. Is, there was a gentleman I was talking to, and man, he's got the best idea, most eco-friendly home in the doggone world, right? He's like, this is going to put Tesla to shame, what I'm doing. I'm like, but who knows about it? Well, I'm working on that. How many investors you closed? Still working on that. This is a guy I talked to over a year ago, right?
Yep.
And guess what his pitch is?
I'm working on that.
Same thing it was a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing it was a year ago, which is obviously not closed down any investors. It's not brought his dreams to reality. It's not brought any of that to fulfillment. And let's face it, he's going to run out of opportunity to cash flow.
Yeah.
So from a business standpoint, the window is closing. And I think we'll see that happen in 2021 because it's a hot market. And the people that are getting their pitch straight, those are the people that are going to dominate 2021.
To go back to that story that you just shared, which is a prime example of how a lot of people mess things up sometimes. One of the greatest things that I ever learned from Grant Cardone through the trainings I've done and being a licensee and all that stuff, the thing I say all the time is, how can I compress time? Okay. How can I take time out of the equation? And to go back to the example you just gave, some people just drag this out because they don't know where to start.
Right.
They don't know how to make a call. They don't know how to, get an investor. Those are all tricky things to do. But if you just sit there and think about it too long and don't get into action, you're never going to do anything. So you have to take time out of the equation and just get started. It is okay to bump your head. It is okay to say something wrong. It is okay to mess up that first call, because if you've got enough people, opportunities, and situations in your pipeline where you can get better with each and every single call and learn something, then it doesn't matter if you screw up a call. What matters is you keep doing it again and don't get discouraged by the shots that you missed.
Right. All right, Jeff, thank you so much for the value
Hey, man.
you've given today. I appreciate it.
I hope this was helpful. I hope some people, whether I want you to come on board and let me take a look at your pitch. I think I can help you. It's everybody watching, and whether or not you take advantage of that, I hope that this year, 2021, becomes your year of getting better information about yourself.
Right.
And I think that there's 1,000 people, there's 1,000 ideas out there. Get access to better information, because you can be in a if 2020 was not the year that you wanted. Okay, success loves preparation. Get prepared. Take this time and get the right information to get prepared.
And if 2020 was a great year for you, man,
you're just set up for even better things in 2021.
That's right. Get ready though, because there's a lot of hungry people who didn't get it their way.
Straight up.
Do it for you. So don't rest on your laurels, basically, right?
And listen, if you did have a great year in 2020, listen, I believe personally that I was very fortunate in 2020. So it is now my responsibility to be better in to bring people up, to help others that didn't feel like that was their best year. Right. Okay.
Right.
And by the way, this conversation brings me up, right? It reminds me of the things that I need to do to be better. And hopefully you and I talking brings somebody else up to think, what's the missing piece? It might just be one or two things to being great. And
right.
That's the message I want to leave you with is get the right information and help others.
Right. And and speaking of right information, so definitely follow Jeff on Instagram, the Jeff Sarault, Sarault, the Jeff Sarault. So those on Clubhouse.
French people, we got those hard to pronounce and hard to spell last names. Yeah.
And take advantage of his offer. I would imagine on his Instagram, he will put a big old link to that offer. So that way, if you follow him on Instagram, he's going to do that. I would imagine. I mean, there's cool stuff that Jeff can do for you as well if you follow him on Instagram and connect with him. And speaking of just like preparation, okay, next week, Jeff, we have somebody coming on, C-Rock, right? And
C-Rock is, man. He will just, if you're not excited and ignited by the time you're done listening to C-Rock, I don't know who can help you.
We're gonna throw some rocket fuel on you. That's what we're doing next week. So
he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Don't want to miss it. Definitely, I follow Be Growth Driven. Make sure that you're on our notifications so you can participate in the conversation. We want to bring you guys people in. We want to put you on our stage as we grow here. We want to get you included in the community and really grow this up, because let's face it, we need strong performers in this time, especially in the economy that we're in right now, and the economy we're going to. We need it. So, Jeff, thank you as always, my friend. I appreciate you. And guys,
my pleasure, Joel.
Be great, because nothing else does pay.